Hey, Tracy Lizotte here, and in this tutorial I'm going to explain how I paint sun rays in the sky behind some puffy clouds. So first off, there's nothing to draw, and you start by wetting your paper. And you have to keep careful watch on how the paper is drying. You want to establish a warm glow in the clouds with a bright yellow. Use a color like New Gamboge and really water it down and make sure this yellow does not creep up towards the top of your painting where the blue sky is. You don't want the blue and the yellow to mix. You can use water to separate them or remove the water and have it dry in that area. But make sure there's plenty of water at the top of your painting to move the blue paint around. You want to create a faded blue wash here. You want it to be darker blue at the top that fades to a lighter blue as it goes behind the clouds. I encourage you to pick your painting up and move the paint around to remove any brush strokes and let the water do its thing. And if too much blue tries to drip into your clouds, make sure you use the lifting out technique with some clean paper towels and remove any of the extra. Now the color blue I've decided to use in my sky is a combination of cerulean with phthalo blue. Use any sort of bright blue that you have in your palette to create the blues in your own sky. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. And once you get the blue to settle in the sky, it's time to create the sun rays by dropping in clean water and then quickly follow it with the lifting out technique. And you want to lift in the direction the sun rays are going to shine out from behind the clouds. And if you like the way your sun rays look, then call it done. You do not have to go back in and add any more paint or water. I've decided I wanted to create more blue in the sky, so I dropped in more blue in between the sun rays and then had to go back in and drop more water where the sun rays are just to enhance the contrast a little bit more. And if you want to do this as well, you need to act fast because the paper is drying. And if you have a spot where the paper dries uneven, you will get a funny water bleed in your sky, which you don't want. And it looks like that's what's going to happen in my sky right above the clouds on the right side. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on how that blue is drying as I paint the clouds. And it didn't take too long before I decided I don't like the way the blue is drying. So I'm going to drop in some clean water where the blue is dry right there. And hopefully now the blue will bleed all the way down to the clouds. And although it might be a little uneven, it's going to look a little more natural and fade back into space and not have a rigid line that dries there. So now I'm going to move on and focus on the clouds and just leave the sky alone. And I do have a reference that's right beside me that I'm looking at constantly as I paint. It's helping me figure out what colors to use, what shapes I want to paint, what values and textures I want to try to achieve in my painting. And I'm doing my very best to look over at it as much as possible as I paint so I can feed the art side of my brain information and I know what to do. So when I get lost, I just look over at the reference and it helps guide me. And I would like you to also look at the reference when you create your own painting, not the video. You don't want to try to keep up with the speed of the video. This is just a little demo for you to watch, then you put the video away and just use the reference as your guide. And that's how you train the art side of your brain to use the elements of art when creating your own paintings. Now I am going to take this reference down off the video, but you can find a link to the reference below this video. So you can download the reference and use it to help you create your own painting of sun rays in the sky with the clouds. Now I'm just using the reference as a general guide. I'm okay if the clouds don't look exactly like the reference. I do like the soft puffiness that I see in the reference, and I like the warm glow that's shining through the clouds. So I'm bleeding in some of that New Gamboge yellow. It's really watered down, but it's a really warm, bright yellow. I've even tinted it with a little bit of my Windsor orange to give it even a warmer glow. And I'm bleeding it in to the gray in the sky. Now, if you know me, you know I love Payne's gray. So these clouds have a lot of Payne's gray in them. And I'm using the water to push the color around. So right now it's a lot of wet and wet. I started off wet on dry, but there's so much water now in the cloud areas that I'm just bleeding in more water and more color in order to get the desired texture that I'm looking for. So I'm going back and forth, dropping in color and water and pushing around the color in order to create interesting shapes. And slowly I'm blending in the areas of the water where they connect. I've been keeping the areas between the darker shapes dry because I didn't want to lose the light. So you can see here I have like 3 main shapes of the clouds separated by the dry paper, and slowly I'm dropping in more water that connect the clouds together just to remove any harsh lines. Like, I don't want harsh lines. I want there to be a nice soft transition from one shape to the other where things gradually get darker and lighter. And I'm just trying to create interesting water blooms right now. And the water blooms could be with just water or it could be with color. And I'm going back and forth until I strike a balance that I like and build up enough darker values. And I think I've achieved some pretty dark values right there in the middle cloud that really comes out. It kind of looks like a thunder cloud. You can see I added even more dark gray, and I think that's too dark. So I'm gonna have to go in and use the lifting up technique and softly and gently push a clean paper towel down into the center and remove some of the color in like random spots just to break it up. I don't want it to look even. I want there to be some look of a puffy cloud left over. And any areas that didn't blend well or maybe form too harsh of a line when the edge dried, I'm going to use my scrub brush and I'm going to go in and gently rub at any areas that need to be blended a little bit more with the brush, and again lift out any excess color and water with a paper towel. And remember that area in the sky that was drying uneven? Well, I still don't like the way it looks, so I'm going to use a really large round brush to add more water and gently, softly rub at the area that dried uneven in hopes to blend it a little bit. Now I have to add water throughout the whole sky so that when the sky dries, it will dry nice and even and not form any lines. That's really important. And now I'm finally happy with the way the blue looks in the sky. I really like the sun rays. I like my clouds, and it's time to add one final detail. I want to add birds flying in the sky. And to do this, I once again found a reference of birds flying in the sky just to help feed the art side of my brain information on what the shape should look like. And I took a minute and thought about my placement of my birds. And then I went for it. I painted the birds in. And that's it. I'm calling this painting done. This was a lot of fun to paint. You can find both references below this video so that you can try to create this painting too. Hi, I'm Tracy Lizotte, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Now, if you're an artist that's looking to develop your abilities to create realistic, original watercolors, then I have a workshop I think you're really gonna like. Click the link below this video and sign up for my free workshop on how to create realistic, original watercolors. Now, in there, I explain how you can join my art academy, where you can work with me directly, and I help artists at all phases in their art journey, from beginner on how to draw to advanced watercolor strategies to even how to market and sell their art, should you want to learn. Now, if you want to work with me directly and get unlimited access to my help, it starts by clicking that link and signing up for the workshop. And you want to do so while it's still free, because it's only free for a limited time. I hope you sign up, and I hope one day to see you in my art academy. But until then, I hope you keep creating.